And that is us. Hi, I'm Dr. G. You are listening to Frisky Biscuit with my loyal partner here.
I'm Lisa, and welcome to Frisky Biscuits today.
We are so happy to have you along. We are brought to you by Moose Eye Grantology. Also, we are a production of Moose Eye Media. We love moose here at Frisky Biscuit.
Too. We're Idaho people.
We're Idaho people, and we are proud of it. So we're happy to have you along. Thank you for listening, and we are brand new, so forgive us for the bobos, and also you might get a laugh out of it. So let's get started here today, Lisa. What do we have on the agenda?
You know, we decided that our focus now is really to focus on what we love, and it's the Motorhome Junkies and other rolling stock, such as, I don't know, everybody that's on wheels.
You know, everything from truck drivers, RV drivers, even bus drivers and food truck drivers. And, you know, we have also, I think it's going to be important for you to announce our merchandise store that's going to be on our
website. We're just about to launch it. It's called frisky-biscuit.com. And we have some incredible t-shirts, hats that have our logos and all kinds of merchandise for the truckers, the RVers, the Motorhome Junkies, anybody that loves to travel. We've got some cool stuff coming up.
We really do, and there's a couple of them there. You know, we mentioned food trucks, and we got to thinking about that. Some of the coolest things you see out on the road now, especially around the central Idaho area here where we are some of the food trucks. They're amazing. In fact, I remember you and I were even thinking about getting one of them. They're so cool. Then we realized, oh my God, we're going to have to work for a living.
I know. What was that movie that came out back in, 2006, 2007? And that really started the industry too. You know, maybe it was 2012. There was only 9,000 food trucks, and there's over 35,000 food trucks today, and they're increasing by 14% every year. So it's a great industry, and especially with the pandemic, people got used to stopping, getting great food, and leaving, going home.
You know, downtown Twin Falls here, where we're located here in central Idaho, they have this food fair, or this kind of I guess it's a street fair kind of a thing, and there was one food truck that stood out to us. It was called, we're going to give them a little plug, Porked Out.
Yes. Maybe we'll even interview them.
It is so well done, and the graphics on the truck itself are adorable, and the food is amazing. That's the thing on these food trucks. You can go to a restaurant and get good food, but I'll tell you what, I have never had bad food off of a food truck.
No, me either.
It's amazing.
Me either.
And they do such a great job. So, you know, not to expound on that, but we have a t-shirt.
And you really get to know the chef. Right? Because the chef is right there making the food right in front of you.
I'm getting hungry thinking about it. You know, anyway, the reason I say that is because we came up with the idea that, you know, food truck drivers are truck drivers, and we're going to kind of salute to America's truck drivers with the advent of what's been going on all over the world. These guys are the unsung heroes. We have another T-shirt that I particularly like. It says, "We deliver freedom everywhere and every day." Mm-hmm. And they do. If you stop and think about it, everything in your house, I'm looking at their table here and all this junk that we're broadcasting with, and everything came to us with a truck. Even your bow and arrow probably was delivered by a truck.
And you can add in the UPS and the FedEx drivers and all of you guys that drive around all day long. You're part of that rolling stock industry too, because you're providing us with all our services.
So we're going to honor a lot of truck drivers on our program from now on, and even there's another industry that's such a sleeper industry. You hear about it, and people, you know, are excited about it, but yet some people kind of poke their nose at it because they don't understand it. But it's the RV industry. Oh. Right now, if the RV industry wasn't doing what it was doing, I'm not sure the United States would survive.
Well, you know what? People don't realize how big the industry is. You know, it's a $26 billion industry, and they project by 2026 that it's going to be over a $35 billion industry.
That is huge.
The growth is just astronomical in motorhomes and camping in general. And what I found fascinating too, and seeing it out there as well, is over 50% of the people that are going out in their RVs or their towables or they're camping for the weekend, whether they're weekend warriors or living in their RV full time, 50% of them are your Gen Xers and your millennials. So that 20, 30, 40-year-olds are the ones that are getting out there going, and good for you guys.
Well, let's talk about us a little bit because, as a kid here in Idaho growing up, I camped and, hunted and fished like everybody else did. But this RV thing is a complete different genre. In fact, there's, I would classify us as glampers now rather than campers.
Well, that's the cool thing about the RV industry is there's such different genres. You
Yes.
can go out to tent camp and really live off the land and go put it on your back and hike in, or you can rent these. I mean, in South Carolina off the islands, just to get a spot, you can pay over $200 to get a really cool glamping spot. There's all these amenities. So the genre in between is huge.
The cost of camping is definitely changed. But one of the things, that we like about it is just getting out and meeting people. In fact, we're going to announce a feature that we're going to have on our podcast from now on. And it's going to be we're going to call it the Frisky Biscuit Road Warriors. Mm-hmm. And what are you going to do with that, Lisa? You're going to go out and actually interview people, and we're going to put them on the air.
Yeah, all of you guys that are driving around all the time, whether it's for the weekend, you do it for your living, you're living in your RV, you're a truck driver and delivering goods to all of us, we're going to go find you and interview you and give you a minute spot that you can tell America who you are, what you do, and what your message is to everybody. And so that way you're out there too. You're getting your voice heard.
And not only are you going to be interviewed by Lisa, but then you're going to get your exclusive Frisky Biscuit Road Warrior sticker to put on your rig.
Absolutely. You won't have a sticker unless you do the interview. And the interviews will be fun. So you can hear your own self on the podcast, which is today's new radio.
It's the new radio, and we really, I was born and raised with radio, and I'm having a hard time kind of understanding this a little bit, but we're kind of getting it. We're figuring it out. And also, those of you who find us, you're going to be able to find us on, what are some of the outlets? Spotify, Google, Apple podcasts.
Pandora, Stitcher, most all the podcast sites, Deezer, even Amazon. We're on all of them right now, except for we're still waiting on Google, Pandora, and Stitcher and TuneIn to actually, it takes us a little longer to get up and running. But if you go to Apple, if you go to iHeart, FM radio, Amazon, Spotify, we're listed on most all of them.
We're there, and you can listen to our pearly tones as much as you want, and we really appreciate it. And unlike a thumbs up, the way you're going to help us is to communicate with us, and you can do that through actually my text system right now, which is 707-479-7404, is a way to direct contact with us when you're listening to this podcast. Ask questions, give us some feedback, let us know if there's stuff you want to talk about and have us cover, and we will do that. So that's my text message number, which is my cell number, and I'd appreciate if you just text and not call. So it's 707-479-7404. Eventually, we'll probably have another number that will do that. And then the website.
Yeah, the website's frisky-biscuit.com, and our email address too, which will be located on the website's really easy. It's friskybiscuitpodcast@gmail.com. So we're just getting up and running, and all of those should be up and running in the next week. So what do you think, all we hear lately is about this, all of our goods and services are increasing, and our gas is increasing, and our petrol and fuel is increasing. Do you think that will have people stay home this year?
Well, our attitude, and not like we're rich, but we're not going to stay home. And you're talking about people getting out with their campers and travel on the road, go see grandma and stuff like this.
Yeah.
I think it's going to affect a lot of people, and rightfully so. However, in the camping business, I think a lot of people are just going to probably stay a little bit closer to home. Just around us here where we're located at, there are breathtaking places to camp, and it's like an hour from us.
Yeah, and even in the Northeast and those of you in the South, there's so many places and campsites. A lot of them have been sold out, but there's some great places to go that you can find the cancellations. Like this one site that I use is called Camp Nab, CampNab, and it's for all the sold out campsites. So you can put in where you want to go and what site, and they'll text you when a cancellation comes up.
You're kidding me.
No, it's so cool.
That's almost like Class A hotel stuff now.
I know. There's so many apps. Even Airbnb, which was for short-term vacation rentals, is getting into campsite locations.
Well, there's so many people that have decided to buy a motorhome, a pool trailer, these little, like my daughter has. We got her one of these cool little, what do you call them, little pop-ups?
Yeah, it's just a little pullable that you can pull with any type of SUV.
And she pulls a little Kia Soul.
What do you think their weigh? Not very much, huh?
Not very much, 2,500 pounds, something like that. But, you can, and they even have them smaller than that. So there's so many opportunities. But, the big message that I think you and I have is get out there. Mm-hmm. Boy, I tell you, I look at my life. I've sat around working. Oh, we'll get to it one of these days, some of these days. And some of the, I know some of the people we watch on YouTube, that's some of these days, one of these days is the name of their channel, because we put it off, and then eventually you're gone and you never got to do these things. And so I think anybody, you don't have to spend a lot of money doing it, but get out there. This country is amazing, and you don't have to spend a lot of gas. Enjoy yourself. And, the beautiful thing about what we like, and I know it's what Lisa really likes, is meeting people and talking to people along the way. And we're going to be doing that as we travel this summer. We got several trips. We're going to take this podcast along with us, and you're going to be interviewing people, and we're going to be talking about where we are a little bit.
And what's fascinating to me about the campers that we meet is they're from all walks of life. They're not just from one area of the world. They're from all over. People from all over the world come and camp at our national parks because they're some of the best in the world. And then you have your kids that are out there. They bring all their toys with them. It's so much fun to watch. And I'm surprised how many people bring their animals. I mean, I've seen people even bring ferrets and little potbelly pigs. Most of them are dogs and cats.
And a motorhome with a fish tank.
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't that be something? I haven't seen that yet.
They don't go around the curves very fast. On some of this, the data that we've got here today, there 42.5 million people camped last year. It was in 2020, I guess.
Yeah, and 61 million in 2021.
That is amazing. And 72 million are projected for this year. 72 million. There's 325 million people here in the United States.
So that's a fifth of our population, which makes sense because it's a lot safer than if you were to go to some of these war-torn countries, or even Mexico. You can go there now, but most of the people going are staying in all-inclusive resorts, so they're not really traveling.
Well, the big message right now is get out there, enjoy yourself, and also, as we look at some of this stuff, you have all these apps. We hear people say they can't get a campsite, everything's sold out, you can't find anything, it's hard to do, and we're just going to stay home. Help them along here a little bit on some of these apps that we've found. You got a ton of them on your phone, and they all work extraordinarily well.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first is recreation.gov, which is all our government lands, and there's so many campsites available. And again, you can use that Camp Nab if you have a favorite area that you're looking at. Also, there's Hip Camp, which is not one that's that popular. However, it's people that have land or facilities that they rent out really inexpensive to just about anybody coming through. And of course, there's BLM lands. If you are set up where you can boondock or not have to plug in to a 50 or 30 amp just for a night or two or even longer, BLM lands, there's a ton of it in certain areas of the country.
Some people listening might not even know what boondocking is. And boondocking is simply when you can take your rig, such as the one we have, or a tent, and go out and stay on the BLM land.
Which is free.
And it's free. And there's so many beautiful places that you don't have to have a reservation. You can just pull off the road and they've got basically some facilities there or non-facilities. But boy, there's all kinds of places you can do that, and that's BLM Land, Bureau of Land Management.
And just a few of the other apps that aren't as popular as some of the others that they work really well is Campers app, and it's per transaction. It's on Apple and Google, so it's not. It's available on your phone. However, Camp Flare is another one only on web browsers. So most people do bring their computers with them. That's one that can also be used. One thing I also like is campsite photos because it shows you the BLM, the state parks, the campgrounds, the public and private ones, photographs of where you're staying. And I think that's super important. We also use Google and go to your Google Maps to actually see what the roads look like to get in. Or if you have a big motorhome and there's hanging trees, you can actually look at the individual campsites and what they look like today, not 10 years ago.
We learned our lesson on that too. Sometimes you reserve something, you go to it like, oh my God, we don't want to stay here. So this campsite photo app is kind of amazing because they've literally taken photographs of every campsite in the country. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's worldwide or not, but they're good photos and they give you kind of the 360 view of where you're going to be staying so you can get an idea of it. And another big thing is, like with our unit, it has slide out. You can tell if it's going to fit or not. A lot of times
the trees are.
There's a big limitation on size right now. Some of these Class A motorhomes are having a hard time finding places they can stay because they're so big. So sometimes 25 and 30 feet is the limit of campsites. So you can kind of check that stuff out a little bit.
And for the new people out there camping, one of the things that I suggest that you do when you get to the campground, first off is look at your site and look up. Look at the trees. Look at what is around you. Because we went camping this summer, and we're coming back and a storm came in, and we had a site that had a tree with one of the limbs that was cracked. And we have solar on our roof, and of course we don't want it to fall on our rig either. So we ended up moving, and it was because we checked out our site. So that's a really important thing, to look at the site, look at the ground, the levelability of it, of course, but also where your trees are in case a storm does come in.
There's a lot of news out there about campers that have got destroyed sitting in a park next to a big tree, and they didn't survey the tree, and a big windstorm came up and knocked over, completely destroyed the camper or the fifth wheel. So just a good idea to look around, really observe the environment, the trees especially, because if they have loose limbs, they haven't been trimmed out, they can destroy the top of your rig and cause thousands of dollars in damage very, very quickly. So on the good news is, as much as we've been out on the road, in our first year, we put on about 12,000 miles on a brand new motorhome, and we went all over the place. We had no trouble at all. No.
And a lot of ours were one-nighters or just at the last minute.
We hear horror stories from newbies. A lot of stuff happened, and I think we were newbies as well. And what you can do to prevent that is just be well prepared. And people listening to this, if you're a motorhomer or a camper or even a truck driver, I know some of these truck drivers. I can't wait for you to interview a couple of truck drivers and ask their opinions of motorhome drivers, because we got a T-shirt that's going to be on our store that says not everybody can drive a motorhome.
Well, I can see them rolling their eyes out there with some of the newbie people that just blast by them, and it causes the trucks to waver all over the roads. And yeah, it's going to be fun.
A lot of people driving these big rigs, and even the big pickups, the F-350s, pulling a big giant fifth wheel, don't realize what drafting is and the vacuum that can be created by these two vehicles on the road as they pass. It can create a lot of dangerous situations, and we've witnessed it. We've seen it. We've seen motorhomes go completely out of control in front of us, and they brought them back because people weren't aware of what the wind was going to do. So things like that. And on our podcast from now on, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. As we said, we're talking about a lot of things that probably shouldn't be talked about. But we're going to center on the road warriors, the people out there that are camping, truck drivers. Truck drivers are a missed commodity. People kind of just overlook them because there's so many of them. You see trucks everywhere. And I don't think that people really appreciate what these people go through to get the stuff to you, but also what they go through to make a living.
Yeah, and they're leaving their families. They're from all walks of life. And generally, I found they're really interesting to talk to. They have interesting stories, and they talk amongst themselves as well of what they've seen on the road. And they take blocks of time off, and a lot of them own RVs too. They're out there camping and getting out into the wilderness and getting out into this great country that we live in when they're not on the road. So it's an interesting group that really hasn't been given the media and the attention that they deserve.
Truck drivers are literally the road warriors of road warriors. And we're really looking forward to interviewing a few people and talking to them about their opinions of not only motorhomes, but people driving in their cars, zipping around. Like I told Lisa one day driving down the road, we saw some of this. You truck drivers out there, or the civilians and the newbies driving their cars out there, have no idea how many lives are saved every day by a truck driver. Just by being aware and making the right move rather than the wrong move.
I mean, there's 3.5 million truck drivers out there. And remember that one RV that was coming in towards Twin from Boise that went over, it was just a small little bridge over the Snake River, or maybe the Mead River.
Oh, it was the Malad Canyon, yeah, out there on the freeway.
Yeah.
It's about, 150, 200 feet deep.
And a wind came and caught them, and it was a
it's a big truck and a fifth wheel.
A fifth wheel, yeah. And the wind threw the truck over. Luckily, a truck driver stopped, chained up the fifth wheel, or maybe chained up the truck with their chains and saved them.
Yeah, they saved their lives, and it was a truck driver that stopped and had the equipment on his rig, the chains and the equipment to keep that thing from breaking off and falling down into the canyon. And there was children, dogs in this, and they were motorhoming, and everything was just fine, and they were not newbies either.
No.
This is just what wind can do with these things. So when you're out there traveling and you see a fifth wheel, give it a lot of space. And when you pass, go as far away from it as you possibly can and get around it. I see other people lingering along side of them, just kind of going 3 or 4 miles an hour faster, and then we'll get around them eventually. Get around these trucks, get around these big motorhomes, and get out of the way. Because if they have a blowout or if something happens, they get caught by wind, they're going to come right over to where you are. You've got to really pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, one of the other trends that I'm seeing within the traveling stock industry, especially with the RVs, is they're starting to buy their own campsites.
That is a trend that's just now starting. And was that started, you think, because people can't find campsites, or the rumor of that, or just because they want their own space? And they're not building cabins anymore. They're taking a nice big motorhome or a fifth wheel, putting it on their own land up in the boondocks.
I think both. One of the benefits of having a camper, whether a fifth wheel or pullable, is you're in your own home. So as owning a second home, you're constantly bringing food items back and forth from your main home to your second home. Well, the beauty of a camper is you travel with you. You travel with everything that you have with you.
Yeah, you don't have to unload it and load it up again. That's one thing we like about it. It's just, we've got our stuff in there. We just go,
And I think people that owned or are owning and buying these, they also like that community feel. So they know everybody within their community that are buying the campsites too.
Yeah. Let's take a moment. We've been going here for a few minutes, and we are sponsored by a company called Moose Eye Grantology, and we are produced by Moose Eye Media, which is part of that same company. So Lisa, my cohort here, is also the owner of that company, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what they do in order to help your nonprofit organization attain funds in this very interesting time where funds are hard to get.
So we write grants. That's basically what we do. We do 80% of our work is research on your industry, your organization, your nonprofit, and we find grants out there and coordinate you two together. Who's got the money? Because you require the money for your mission. And we look at your organization to make sure everything's in line before we write the grant, and then we give it our all to write a winning grant for you, to find the funds for you so you can keep going on your mission. And one thing I can say is there's more and more organizations out there hiring grant writers to write grants. So it's really important that you know exactly what your mission is, you know exactly where you're going, because there's a lot more competition and you got to know what you're doing. So the way to do it, I think, is to hire a professional to write the grant for you. You can give us a call. It's really easy. Best way to reach us is through our website at moosaigrantology.com.
Thank you, Lisa. And they do a great job. In fact, I know you're getting ready to start with a big company over in the Boise area that flies planes all over the world to haul doctors there and stuff like that. And these are really worthwhile causes. So, keep it in mind. If you have a nonprofit, give her a call or give her a check out on that website. So back to what we do here, Frisky Biscuits. We've had 4 or 5 programs now that have been posted, and they're up there so you guys can hear them and listen to them. We'd really like to know the opinions. Be kind to us as much as you can. We want to make this interesting for you. But we have found, as we talked about centering and focusing in and niching in on this podcast, one of the things that we love is the RVing. And, we work and we do a lot of stuff, and we told you a little bit about our backgrounds. But it's a good escape for us. And this summer, we're going to be traveling to a few interesting places, and we're going to take you along with us on our podcast. We'll be interviewing people along the way. And Lisa, do you want to give them a little preview of what we're going to be doing or where we're going to be going? Or do we even want to divulge that?
No, let's not divulge it yet. We do go up to one of our favorite lakes in northern Idaho, and we hang out there for a couple of weeks. And it's gotten really popular, and I can see why, because there's a lot of boat craft that goes on. There's a lot of paddle boarding. There's a section of it that the kids really love because they can go swimming. And, it's just a getaway. I think that's the most important thing. It's not necessarily where you go, but can you get away? Get away from your standard life, your regular day-to-day operations.
And turn off the damn phone.
Absolutely.
That thing, I tell you, here just living our life, I swear that is the most intrusive. And now they do this ads on text messaging, and it just drives you crazy.
Oh, and the bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, and you got to look at it, because I have patients and clients that are attempting to get in touch with me, and so does Lisa, and I know you do too. But we got to get away from that. And camping and motorhoming and fishing and hunting are some of the most beautiful ways to do that. And just get away from your home and find another home somewhere. If it's a campsite, and the place that she's talking about in northern Idaho is not Lake Coeur d'Alene, by the way.
I want to put a challenge out there to everyone this summer, is to spend 24 hours without checking your phone.
Good luck.
Turn it off.
Good luck.
Yeah. See if you can do it. I don't know if I can do it. I think I'm going to take my own challenge, and we'll see what happens.
I tell you, it's the most unhealthy thing we've got going on in our society right now, these damn telephones, because they own us. And if people want to argue with me about it, go ahead. In my private practice, working with people, I see this constantly, the stress, the anxiety that's created through these cell phones ringing constantly. And another phenomena that's happened through social media, and I blame Facebook a lot for this, is the instantaneous, people have this expectation of instantaneously you getting back to them. Yes. Right now.
Yes.
And remember the day of the telephone answering machine where you'd listen to your machine maybe once or twice a day, and you write the people down and you'd call them. But now they leave this text message. They don't even call or leave a message, just text you now and want a response now. That's creating a tremendous amount of anxiety, and it presupposes you're going to fail at stuff. It creates some psychological issues with people. So I think that
what do you tell your clients on that, the anxiety part of it?
I tell them to turn the phone off, take a day, detox from it. And most of them can't do it. Most of them can't do it. They're so addicted to it. And if we don't start doing that and start weaning ourselves off of this stuff, it's going to ruin our lives. And it's ruined a lot of people's lives. So back to what we're talking about, getting away, that's how we do it. Because sometimes we're up there in the hills and we haven't got a cell signal. And I know it. We talk about it. Oh my God, we got to get down to town so I can see, who's calling. But when we'll do that, and we will check, but at least those day or 2 days up in the hills or on a lake, we're not being bombarded by it, where we can start detoxing and decompressing from.
And it's surprising how much time it takes to detox. Like when you don't have a phone, it's almost the automatic habit of going to grab for that, or to think, oh, I've got to turn on my computer and check this email or check this. And you don't have that availability. So it forces me to stop. And it takes time. It's like I can feel the anxiety that's there. And one of the things I've done that really works is the Young Living oils. I've been using one of them called Peace and Calming. It has a green label on it. And I am shocked how well it works.
I am shocked too, because I'm a guy who does not sleep. That stuff works. I can't believe it myself. And we are not soliciting this, but I'll tell you what, if you have a hard time sleeping and can't stay asleep, like, are you one of those people like I am? You go for about 3 hours, you wake up, and then, oh my God, getting back to sleep is like, it takes 2 hours. This stuff here, it's not perfect, but I can go back to sleep within 20 minutes, which I'll take it.
And it's not something you have to ingest inside. You just roll it on. So it's an oil. And I've used the oils for cooking. I've used them for diffusing throughout the home to get rid of smells. And I'm really absolutely shocked how well they work. They're like living medicines and living solutions to our life challenges. And one of them is the anxiety and moving along so fast and not being able to stop. So it just helps the body to stop, to slow down, take a break, breathe. Go out, take a hike.
It was pretty amazing, and we're not soliciting it, and we don't sell it directly, so that's not why we're saying this. And we have no affiliate program with it, but we've also discovered that particular brand seems to be the one that works.
Yeah, they're not all the same. I would stick with the Young Living, and they make a lot of it in Idaho. Their main headquarters is in Utah.
Yeah. All right. What else do we have on our agenda today that we were going to make interesting for people other than being road warriors out there?
Well, that's about it. We wanted to introduce that we're really going towards the Motorhome Junkies and the rolling stock and working with the food trucks and interviewing. And we'd love to hear from you, because we want to interview you. We want to put you on this, because this podcast is going to be sponsored soon from other industries as well, especially within the truck drivers. So, text us, 707-479-7404. Let us know what you want to hear.
I'm curious, just take a couple of moments, since you were kind of new at camping and motorhoming yourself. We started doing this. Lisa, she's been around the world, and she's had her time in tour buses with tourists and being a tour director and a leader and a cruise director on a ship and all these things. So with motorhoming, what do you get out of it personally? Because I think there's a lot of women out there that are moms that are still got kids in school, or they just graduated and they feel kind of lost on, wow, what can we do with our life now that's interesting? And sometimes camping, because I know, like with you, it wasn't something that was very attractive to you, because you looked at camping as this campfire smelly, no shower kind of a deal, and didn't want any part of it. So,
well, and sleeping on the ground and dirt everywhere, that just wasn't my cup of tea. However, I like to travel. So what I found with motorhoming for myself is that feeling of wanting to go and see new places and experience new places. It gave me a way to do it, and I love to drive. So it combined that freedom-seeking, travel-loving, also being behind the wheel all together, along with the comfort. So I found it to be quite enjoyable. I think the biggest challenge was just to learn how to work with the motorhome. There's so many moving parts, and there's so much that can change in the motorhome, and that you have to pay attention to. How much water do you have? Is it too cold to run the batteries? Do you have to put a battery warmer on? So there's a constant, which is great, because it also gets you out of your cell phones. It gets you out of your technology, because you better be paying attention, at least in ours, on what's going on with the motorhome itself. So it was a pleasant surprise for me to actually get out. And I found that the best campgrounds that I love aren't the ones with all the park-like atmosphere with the swimming pools and the bocce balls and the children running around. It was more of the boondocking, going out and finding beautiful wilderness, or that van along the river type of experience.
That used to be something stupid that people loathed, and now having a van down by the river is something, a luxury item.
Yeah, and I found I'm just intrigued with being able to just sit. Like, that's not something that I've ever done. I've always been out skiing or biking or walking but to be able to just sit by the river and even go fishing. I'm not a big fisherman, but it's just getting me out of my comfort zone. And I feel like I've grown.
One of the things that we enjoyed so much this last year was, and it's a legendary place, but we were right within 7 feet of the Salmon River.
Mm-hmm.
Green grass,
beautiful.
and it was just amazing. I mean, and the rock formations of the mountains, and we've got a picture of our motorhome against one of these mountains and rock formations, and it looks surrealistic.
And the animals, the birds, the deer, they just come right up to you. It's like they're not even afraid. Of course, they smell the food, too, that we're cooking outside.
Yeah, little mooches is what they are.
I feel like I've become a better cook, too, because you can go to these fast food in different places, and we love diners, so we go and travel around and find really cool old diners. However, cooking outside, not necessarily on the campfire, more on a camp stove, is really rewarding.
Yeah, and your new discovery that you've never even knew existed is a cast iron skillet.
Yeah, my family was not people that cooked a whole lot.
She's discovered how to cook a steak in a cast iron skillet, and she rocks
a
at it.
Mean steak now. The trick to the mean steak is cook it really hot, not that long, sear in the juices, and then the ultimate is to let it sit for 10 minutes.
They call let it rest.
Because I used to cut it open and see what it looked like it was cooking, and I realized I was just ruining the steak.
Yeah, it loses its moisture.
Yeah.
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 No, Lisa's turned into a heck of a cook, man. I tell you what, she's a camp
Hey, I
cook.
found this guy on YouTube, Chef Jean-Pierre. He's amazing. He's funny. He teaches you how to cook his meals, which not all of them I'm interested in, but I tell you what, he taught me how to cook that mean steak.
He did, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And you
and the
nailed
tenderloins.
it. You nailed it. We had our neighbors over who are steak eaters and cookers and know how to do it. They were like blown away. And I think that was the first one you'd cooked, right?
Yeah. And the cut of steak too. A ribeye is really different from some of the other ones. The ribeye has the fat in it, so it keeps it in. So if you go to a good butcher, that's the other key, is you got to start with something great. Start with a C cut, forget it. So I'm just thrilled. I'm really enjoying it, to my surprise, to get out on the road.
Well, we're almost there. As I'm looking outside today, we got the sun shining, a little bit of wind, not too bad. We had some blue sky yesterday. And something that we're going to talk about, we're probably get in trouble and I'll get banned, is chemtrails. What the hell are those all about? I mean, we have beautiful blue sky here in central Idaho, and we looked out yesterday, and there's these little lines from jets. And then today, it's like wanting to be overcast and rain.
And to find any information on it, real information, that maybe you guys can help us with that, as any information that you know of, let us know. I mean, what exactly is going on?
God, is anybody pissed off about it? I mean, it's nobody talks about it. It's weird. And watch us we've had 5 podcasts now, and we'll get banned.
Oh, I doubt it. I think these kind of subjects are important to bring up because it's our sky, it's our world, it's our planet. What are they doing? And it can't be good. It changes our atmosphere. It changes the weather. It's not good for the crops. And I tell you, on my car, I can also see that fine dust. So what is it? Why are they doing it? And if you have any information, let us know.
All right. We have exhausted this 45-minute period of time. By the time we blow out of here, where time will be up. So let's give them the details on how to contact us one more time, and how they can be ready for the road warrioring as you're going to go out there. How are we going to do that? We just going to go out there and find people and talk to them, or is there a criteria we're looking for? Or?
Well, there's two things. One is we will have 20-minute segments of really interesting people that will be in the industry that we'll be interviewing. And then we'll have these little short 1-minute segments of you. We're going to go find you at the truck stops, at the campgrounds. You can also call in and we can interview you there as well to get your message out there. And the best way to reach us is through first our email, friskybiscuitpodcast@gmail.com. Our website, which is just about on the precipice of being launched, which is frisky-biscuit.com, or through a text message, 707-479-7404.
All right. So the good news is we are going to be here every week. We're attempting to post, Wednesday?
Yep.
Wednesday, and when we post on Wednesday, you should have it right then. So we want to hear feedback from you. We want to hear what's going on with you, and we want to know what you think of some of the subjects we talk about. And our focus is truck drivers, bus drivers, food truck drivers, RV drivers, drivers in general, out there on the road, warrioring along with you, going to work every day. I know your brother drives 200 miles a day to work?
Yes.
And
so you're one of them out there.
You're one of them, a road warrior. If you're driving like that to just have a job, we want to know about it. We want to hear what you think. And this is not going to be political. It's just, let's talk to each other and let's get to know each other, because part of what's going to bring America back is us talking to each other and being Americans and understand every one of us are important. And this BS of you can't work because you're not a what do they call it? A
non-contributing.
Not a vital position. Your job isn't important. Everybody's job is important, and we want to know about you and what you do and what you think about some of these things we talk about. Have you got a more interesting subject? Let us know.
So thank you for downloading our podcast and coming and listening to us. Without you, we wouldn't be here.
And we wouldn't want to be here. And we wouldn't want to do this. So
it's a community. It's a family.
It is. So until next time, this is Dr. G
and Lisa K.
And we are so appreciative of you. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.